Hi, and welcome to lesson 1 of our Lenten series, Give Up Something Bad for Lent. I'm Pastor Dawn Gerard, and I'm here in our beautiful narthex at Emmanuel United Methodist Church in Canton, Missouri. So our topic for today is the same as the title, Give Up Something Bad for Lent. And our scripture for today is Matthew 5, verses 29 and 30. And then Matthew 16, verse 26. If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? So this book is written by James Moore, and he starts it with a great story that I want to share. He said, a few years ago, I was with some friends at a banquet in Texas, and after a sumptuous meal, the waiters brought out a beautiful dessert. And one man at the table said, "Oh no, I can't even look at that." And of course, everybody at the table is like, "Why not?" And he answered, "Because I'm giving up desserts for Lent, and I don't want to be tempted." For years, people have been giving up something for Lent as a spiritual discipline. Usually things like desserts and sweets, chocolate, coffee, tea, ice cream, whatever. Some people even bring out the big guns and they say they're going to give up smoking or alcohol or red meat. Those who are less disciplined will usually make some sort of dramatic announcement and joke that they're going to give up something that's out of season and so it's not available readily to them, like strawberries or watermelon. Maybe they might even say they're going to give up something that they don't actually like anyway, like spinach or Brussels sprouts. And then, of course, there are the real practical jokers who say they're going to give up something that they can't do anyway, like space travel or running a 4-minute mile. But here's the thing. My message series and this Lenten study are looking at this concept from a different perspective. If we're going to give up something for Lent, instead of choosing something good, why not choose something bad? If we're giving up something as a spiritual discipline, then why don't we pick out something that we really need to get out of our lives permanently? Why not give up something bad for Lent? And that leads us to this study. All over the world in the last few days and weeks, people have been asking each other that famous question of, what are you giving up for Lent? And like I said before, some will take it seriously, where others will take it quite lightly. But Moore talks about one woman who was taking this question very seriously. You see, she had just gone through a painful divorce, and her statement was really quite powerful. She said, "I've decided that this Lent, I am going to give up being unhappy. I am going to give up being unhappy for Lent." I mean, it's a great idea and it makes perfect sense. If we're going to give up something for Lent as a spiritual discipline, why not pick out something bad? I mean, why not pick out something that spiritually we would be a whole lot better without? The whole idea of giving up something is biblical. I mean, Jesus told the disciples that they should deny themselves and take up their cross and follow him in Matthew 16:24. He's saying that not only to them, though, but it's also being told to us. He's saying that we need to deny ourselves, take up our crosses, and follow him. Let me put it this way. He's basically telling us to get rid of those things in our lives that prevent us from walking where Jesus would be leading us. We need to get rid of those things in our lives that just aren't Christ-like. Now, I mean, yeah, if you look at the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus puts it pretty graphically, like I read earlier. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. Better to lose one of your members than your whole body be thrown into hell. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw away. It's better to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. I mean, wow. Tear it out, cut it off, throw it away. Did Jesus really say those things? Yeah, he did. I mean, this is the same Jesus that we call meek and mild, the same gentle Jesus that we sing about, the same personable Jesus who calls the little children to come to him, and he loves the birds in the air and the flowers in the fields. This is that same compassionate Jesus who touched the man with the withered hand and made him whole. And yet, he speaks so strongly about this. I mean, obviously he's speaking symbolically. He's not really talking about acts involving knives and gouging things, right? But he does mean anything that is destructive, anything that threatens to destroy us, and anything that could seduce us to sin. Those are the kind of things that should be cut out of our lives. Anything that threatens the existence of the whole must be eliminated before it contaminates and destroys. Think about it this way. If you smoke, that's destroying your lungs, so you should quit smoking. If you are a drinker and you become an alcoholic, you should quit drinking. If you're gambling and you lose all the money that you're supposed to be paying your bills with at the track, then maybe you should quit gambling. Whatever it is that you're doing that's destroying your life, you need to do like Jesus said and cut it off, gouge it out, quit, and give it up before it destroys you. It may sound harsh, but if you think about it, this is the same principle that we've been operating under for a long time. I mean, if your appendix is about to burst, you can't keep it in, because if it ruptures, then it's going to spill toxins out into the rest of your body. So yeah, the doctor's got to go in and cut it out. The same would be true if you've got a strange mole or growth or something somewhere on your body. You want to cut it out and make sure that it's not skin cancer and that it doesn't spread to other parts of your body. You know, I bet if you ask athletes and singers and doctors and dentists, they're all going to tell you that there are certain things that you have to give up before you can be your best. And nowhere is this truer than it is in the spiritual parts of our lives. There's certain acts, attitudes, habits, and sins that can and will contaminate, infect, and poison our souls. And the only way that we can be spiritually well, spiritually fit, and spiritually whole is to get rid of them, to give them up, to cut them out. I want you to be honest with yourself and with God. What is in your life that you need to give up for Lent? What bad thing in your life right now do you need to get rid of? We've talked about some with our Ash Wednesday service. I'll be talking about others during the Lenten series, but I want to talk about the ones that James Moore offers up in this book. The first thing that he suggests is to give up bitterness. Is there some bitterness in your life right now? If so, then you'd better give it up, because it will poison your soul. Is there a grudge, a grievance, a smoldering hatred, a broken relationship that is tainting your life right now? Guys, if there is, I'm begging you, don't go to bed tonight until you have said it right. How many of you have ever seen the movie Rain Man? It's the story of a young man named Charlie Babbitt who became estranged from his father because of a confrontation that happened when Charlie was 16 years old. You see, Charlie had brought home a good report card, and he wanted to take some of his buddies out for a victory ride in his father's prized convertible. But his father said no. Well, Charlie didn't like that answer, and he took the car anyway, and his father had him, along with his buddies that were with him, arrested for stealing the car. Well, the parents of all the other boys, they bailed them out immediately. But he wanted to teach his son a lesson, and so he left him in jail for 2 days. When Charlie finally got out of jail, he was so angry, so hurt and hostile that he ran away from home. Now, later down the line, his dad tried to contact him, but Charlie was still so bitter that he refused to respond. Then when Charlie's dad died, he left the convertible, that car that started it all, to Charlie. And he left the remainder of the estate, which was over $3 million, to Charlie's autistic brother, Raymond, a brother Charlie never even knew existed. And so as the story continues to unfold, we see Charlie angry. He was angry that he had lost what he deemed his birthright to Raymond, who was completely out of touch with reality, who lived in his own little world and had absolutely no concept of the value of money. I mean, Raymond thought that a candy bar and a sports car both cost the same amount, about $100. I mean, I wish. As the story goes on, Charlie's first instinct is to use Raymond to get the money. But while doing so, he eventually realizes that he loves his brother. And that's more important than the money. And they connect in this wonderful way. It's a beautiful story, although like most movies, there's some language that I wish they would have left out. But the story is also tinged with sadness that's produced by this bitterness. I mean, look at what Charlie missed over all of those years. And I'm not talking about the money. And I think about what their dad missed, all because of this unresolved bitterness. Don't let this happen to you. Please remember how Jesus put it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? You know, the King James Version of Matthew 16:26 actually translates the word life as soul. With every fiber of my being, I am pleading with you to think about it. And if there is bitterness in your life, I invite you to give it up for Lent. Give it to God and let Him bring the healing. With God's help, you can give it up forever. So the second thing that Moore would have us give up is apathy. Apathy means quitting on life. It means not caring and not trying. You know, it's amazing to me how many people there are in the world today who get discouraged and just throw in the towel. So if you want to give up something for Lent, how about giving up apathy? Give up that negative, cynical, pessimistic thinking. Moore tells the story of Dr. Halford Luckock, who was a distinguished professor at Yale University. And Dr. Luckock had shared this bittersweet story from his youth. He and a few of his rebellious young friends decided to do something wicked. It was the wickedest thing that they could think of. They decided to burn a Bible. And not just any Bible, mind you. They went to Hal's father's study and they took the huge book from the library and they set it on fire. But here's the thing. Mr. Luckock arrived on the scene unexpectedly and he spoiled their fun because he pointed out that that huge book that the boys had burned wasn't actually the Bible at all, but the dictionary, which, by the way, contains exactly the same words as the Bible, but in a different arrangement. And then Mr. Luckock pointed out to the boys that we don't destroy words by burning them. We destroy them by not using them. Burning the Bible is a wicked thing, but ignoring the Bible is even worse because we destroy good things by ignoring them. Churches, schools, families, marriages, friendships, commitments, physical health, spiritual life, and intellectual growth. All of these good things can be destroyed by neglect and apathy. Apathy is the opposite of commitment, the opposite of faith, and it can ruin your life. If you want to give up something for Lent, why not give up something bad, like bitterness or apathy? And then finally, Moore tells us that we should give up discouragement. And he starts this section with such a sweet story that I want to share. He says, I heard a story about a preschool teacher who felt worn down and burnt out. She was a committed teacher, but she felt tired and discouraged. And the children were really beginning to get on her nerves. They were driving her up the wall, and then things got worse when she found out that her mother had died. She was very close to her mother, and she was devastated by the sudden loss. After the funeral, she took some time off of work to work through her feelings and her grief. And that grief made it even harder for her to go back into the classroom. Finally, when she did return to school, she felt more like a soldier going into battle than a teacher of preschoolers. On the first day back, she went through the motions like the competent professional that she was. And even though she felt sorry for herself, she felt like she was covering it very well. But on the second day back to school, something happened. She discovered 5-year-old Rachel picking the last chrysanthemum from the flower pot in the hallway. Rachel was the most distant, difficult, disruptive child in her class. And with a stern and trembling voice, she asked, Rachel, what are you doing? And Rachel held out her little hand, and in it she had the flowers that she had already picked. Mrs. Terrell, she said, you used to be like a mother. I know you're fussed in your mind and infused in your mind, and well, maybe these flowers will help you be like a mother again. And Mrs. Terrell was taken aback. She said in her mind, she's fussed and fused in my mind? You mean that shows to a 5-year-old? And then Mrs. Terrell asked, Rachel, what's a mother like? And Rachel said, a mother's like what you used to be. And Mrs. Terrell responded, I like being with children. It's just that, well, Rachel, my mother passed away. And Rachel meekly interrupted, asking, you mean she died? And Mrs. Terrell answered, yes, Rachel, she died. And then Rachel looked up at her teacher with big brown eyes and asked, did your mother live until she died? And Mrs. Terrell stopped and she thought in her head, again, what kind of question is this? And she said, well, honey, of course she did. I mean, all people live until they die, And Rachel interrupted once more. And she said, oh no, they don't, Mrs. Terrell. Some people change. They stop being what they used to be. They walk around, but they don't seem alive anymore. And Rachel paused, and then she continued. Please don't die, Mrs. Terrell. Stay alive for us. Be like a mother to us again. And with that, the teacher hugged her tightly, and through her tears, she said, I will, Rachel. I will. I hope this story makes you stop and think like it did for me. All of us have these moments when we get down, when we get discouraged and maybe we feel sorry for ourselves. All of us have to walk through difficult valleys. All of us have to experience the Good Fridays of life. But the good news is that Easter is coming. And if during these days of Lent, if we can, with the help of God and by the grace of God, we can get rid of some of these bad things in our life, like bitterness and apathy and discouragement. And if we do, we will be so much better prepared to receive the Easter victory, the new life that God has for us. And if we can give up some of the things that are bad for us for Lent this year, then hopefully and prayerfully, we can even give them up forever with the help of God. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the season of Lent. Remind us of the importance of preparing for and anticipating Easter. Help us to use this season wisely as we make positive changes in our lives. Amen. Okay, so I have some questions that I want you to think about. What does Lent mean to you? What does it mean? And why is it important? And what do you hope to receive from participating in this experience? Question number 2, why do you think people give up something for Lent? Have you ever given up something? If so, what was it and what was your result? Yeah, I've given up soda like multiple times. Doesn't do a very good job on me. I'm pretty bad at it. Question 3, what are some reasons to give up something bad for Lent? What might happen when we give it to God? And question 4, what dangers do you see in bitterness? Why do you think bitterness is often left unresolved? Question 5, think about a time when you experienced apathy. What was it like? How can apathy harm your life? Question 6, when have you experienced discouragement? What are some ways to eliminate discouragement from your life? So that's our questions for review and discussion this week. I will have them actually printed out and available for you on Sunday so that you can pick them up and have them for all of our future sessions as well. So each week you're going to have a focus, something I want you to really focus on and think about. And so our focus for this first week, begin your observance of Lent by taking a personal inventory of your habits, strengths, and weaknesses. Look deep inside to see what is holding you back from a better relationship with God and with others. And then take the first step toward giving up something bad for Lent. Okay, guys, so that's lesson 1 of our series on giving up something bad for Lent. Book written by James Moore. I hope that you will tune in each week as we do this study, and I hope to see you also on Sunday mornings. For now, bye-bye.